Centralia. You've seen the photos. Ash gray dead trees, smoke curling up from cracks in the earth, roads split open like something enormous is pushing from below. Looks like a ghost town cursed by some ancient force. What you didn't notice is that there's a coal seam fire burning underneath that ground that has been going more or less continuously since around 1962. In human terms, that means the earth itself is slowly combusting beneath your feet. Carbon monoxide pockets form without warning. Sinkholes open. There are no official trail markers left because the authorities have mostly given up trying to manage the area safely. Phone signal is nearly zero. The town of Centralia was largely evacuated decades ago, and today only a tiny handful of residents remain, which means if something happens to you out there, help is not close. This isn't a haunted forest in the ghost sense. It's haunted by invisible gas that can put you on the ground before you know anything is wrong. The next one looks completely safe. That's the problem. Pine Barrens, yes, before you say it. The Jersey Devil, very spooky, love the lore, moving on. The real issue here is scale and sameness. Over 1 million acres of flat, scrubby, near featureless terrain where the trees look identical for miles and the sand tracks branch off in every direction without logic. Magnetic anomalies have been reported in parts of the Barrens, which sounds like a Reddit exaggeration until you realize that real hikers, experienced ones, regularly get turned around here for hours. The bogs are the other thing. They look like solid ground. They are not solid ground. There are almost no through trails for the size of the area, which means no natural flow to follow if you lose your bearings. The scariest thing about Pine Barrens isn't a devil. It's how fast I know where I am becomes I have genuinely no idea where I am and nobody knows you're here. Remember that feeling. It comes up again later. Freetown Fall River. The next forest had a literal body count, and the locals named a road after one of the cases. This one sits inside what paranormal people call the Bridgewater Triangle, and yes, the colonial-era atmosphere and the satanic panic history are real and genuinely creepy. But what you probably missed is that this forest has documented use as a dumping ground by organized crime. Multiple confirmed homicide cases, not legend, not folklore, actual law enforcement records. There's an abandoned quarry with sheer drops, disused rail tunnels where cell signal evaporates. The problem with the paranormal branding is that it sends thrill seekers into genuinely sketchy terrain at night as a dare, which is a spectacularly bad idea in a place with that kind of documented history. The next one is a national park. Somehow that makes it worse. Prescott National Forest. Looks like the setting for a peaceful hiking commercial. Tall pines, clean air, golden light. What you didn't notice is that you are above 6,000 feet, and elevation sickness hits fast if you're not acclimatized, particularly if you drove up from Phoenix in the same afternoon. Flash floods funnel through the canyon trails with almost no warning and no obvious sky signal from inside the forest. Trails close in late autumn. Hikers ignore the closures. And search and rescue in Arizona is, per capita, among the busiest in the country. That's not a random stat. It reflects a pattern of underestimation. Several routes have no reliable water sources. The haunted reputation here comes almost entirely from unprepared tourists who had a bad time and needed an explanation. The forest is fine. The preparation was not. Pacific Northwest next, and the trees there are literally swallowing evidence. Gifford Pinchot. Looks like every horror film ever set in a forest. Mossy, green, cinematic, oppressively beautiful. And the old-growth canopy is dense enough that GPS signal drops to nearly useless in sections. Multiple missing persons cases in the Pacific Northwest remain unresolved, and Gifford Pinchot comes up repeatedly in those discussions. The proximity to Mount St. Helens means there are unstable terrain zones that don't always look unstable. Fallen old growth creates maze-level obstacles at ground height. You step over one log and suddenly you can't see the direction you came from. Visibility in heavy undergrowth can be around 30 feet. You could be 50 feet from a marked trail and not find it. One forest on this list has a trail that search and rescue teams refer to by a nickname, not a flattering one. That's coming. Sam Houston. This one does not look like it belongs on a horror list at all, Sarajsta. It looks like a gentle swamp walk, flat and slow and almost sleepy. What you didn't notice is that the combination of Texas heat and Gulf humidity creates hyperthermia conditions that escalate fast, especially on exposed stretches. The waterlogged ground hides drop-offs. Cottonmouth and copperhead density in that region is not a minor detail. The Lone Star Hiking Trail runs roughly 128 miles through here with limited bailout points, which means if something goes wrong mid-route, your options shrink quickly. Texas game wardens regularly conduct rescues on routes officially rated moderate. The Big Thicket section has been called the biological crossroads of North America because of the sheer density of species packed into a small area, which sounds amazing. And it is amazing. Right up until some of those species are venomous and you've rolled an ankle 2 hours from the nearest trailhead. Nature moves faster here than the folklore. Next one is the most visited haunted forest in the U.S., and that's exactly the problem. Shawnee National Forest. This one has gone viral multiple times for its surreal sandstone rock formations, otherworldly shapes, impossible-looking balancing rocks, the kind of place that gets 10,000 reposts the week someone discovers it. What you didn't see in those photos is that there's minimal ranger presence on most of the trails, the sandstone edges are genuinely unstable, and visitors routinely climb formations that are explicitly posted with fall warnings. Cell signal drops in the hollows. When people report hauntings here, investigators have found in several cases it was other hikers in distress at night, disoriented, making noise, misidentified in the dark. The irony being that the haunted reputation draws more people who then become the thing that scares the next group, last one, and it has, by some accounts, the highest concentration of unexplained disappearance cases per square mile on this list. Ozark National Forest, classic road trip destination, dramatic ridges, beautiful in every season, looks like a screensaver. What most visitors don't know is that parts of this region sit above an old mine shaft network, and caves here flood fast with almost no warning. Locals who grew up nearby know which zones to treat carefully. Visitors don't have that map in their heads. Trail signage gets sparse quickly once you move outside the maintained corridors. Cell-dead zones cover large sections. Fanned Arkansas weather at elevation can shift from clear to violent in a window that doesn't give you much time to react. Arkansas has a specialized cave rescue unit. That unit exists because it is needed regularly. The haunted stories attached to the Ozarks are mostly miners' history, real people who died in real accidents repackaged over generations into ghost tours, which is honestly more unsettling than the ghost version. All of these forests are genuinely dangerous, and the ghost story is precisely what gets people to walk in underprepared at night without telling anyone where they went, which is a flawless setup for becoming the next story someone tells around a campfire. The forests that quietly rack up the rescue calls are the ones with the nicest photos. If any of these are on your road trip list, drop which one in the comments, and maybe mention whether you actually looked up the trail conditions first. Like and subscribe if you want the next breakdown, because there are 8 more where this came from.